and more introverted in personality. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that one's better or worse than the other. They're just a bit different.
Right.
And if you don't recognize these differences, you can misperceive the situation. For example, I think a lot of Africans believe that, African Americans believe that Koreans are standoffish and are prejudiced against blacks because they don't talk as much to black people as black people talk to black people, when in fact it's just a personality difference. So I think that there are these kinds of recognitions that we can make.
But isn't that kind of a cultural thing then?
Well, I don't think it is cultural, you see. I think it's also partly genetic. Because, you see, if you look at Africans, they're talkative not just in the United States or Canada, but also in Britain, also in the Caribbean, also in sub-Saharan Africa. It's not just something that is specific to American culture. It's something which is inherent within African people, just like a quieter disposition is inherent within Asian population, and an intermediate kind of disposition to be found in Europeans.
Okay. Now, what about interracial? Now there's not that many pure white or black or Asian people anymore. I mean, everybody is intermixed nowadays. I mean, there's not that many true black Americans, true white Americans. I mean, what is a white American anyway? I mean, you're talking Irish, you're talking Polish, you're talking a mixture of a little bit of everything. How does that work as far as brain size? I mean, there's a lot of black Americans that have African American, they have Indian, they have French, they have a lot of different other cultures mixed in. How does that affect as far as brain size goes, or whatever?
What it does with Africans is African Americans have an IQ of about 85. For African populations in the world, that's very high. African Americans actually have about the highest black IQ in the world. And one reason for this is because they are about 25% mixed with white genes. If you go to Africa, black Africa, where the population is less mixed, the IQ is much lower. So whether it's all the African American IQ is as high as it is just because of its white admixture, or whether it's also because of the good nutrition and the good schools and so on, compared to Africans in Africa, we can't say for sure.
Right.
But we do know that Africans in America are the most intelligent Africans anywhere in the world. And if you go to black Africa, the IQ scores are about 70. And there are many, many studies to show this. In fact, it's one of the most controversial aspects of the bell curve. It was the fact that they tried to argue in that book that this supported the genetic hypothesis for racial differences in intelligence. So, I mean, you're right, there are a lot of admixtures, but on the other hand, this is, from a geneticist, scientist point of view,
right,
this helps us to get a handle on what's going on.
Okay, so what do you? Okay, it helps you get a handle, but so what are you going to use it for in later years? Do you really have anything that you can see it helping or changing, or if people will accept this?
Well,
which they're not going to. But if people would accept this, what changes could you see being made?
Well, I think people are going to accept it because we've just about exhausted all the current ideas of how to handle crime and racial problems in the world. All the economic and social policy theories that we've tried have failed.
Right.
And I think now we're beginning to recognize that, and we have a very big racial divide in the United States. And black people are just not succeeding, whereas other people coming into America are succeeding. And the question is, why? Why does this? And we're finding the same thing in Canada. The Jamaicans that are coming in and the Caribbeans that are coming in as immigrants are all sinking to the bottom, so to speak, whereas the East Indians and the Pakistanis and people from everywhere else in the world are succeeding. And again, we've got this question, why, what is it specifically about black people that is making them less successful? Is it because whites are more racist against blacks than against anybody else, or quite what is it? So I think people are going to have to accept this. And I think that eventually we're going to have to move to some kind of acknowledgement of these major racial differences, and then design a society or intervention procedures that take the differences into account. Now, I don't go into that in my book, but Race, Evolution, and Behavior, which is the title of the book, does describe in full detail all these differences and tries to show how they arose using evolutionary and genetic arguments.
Okay. Well, I'm on to order the book. I'll give you the telephone number here. It's 908-445-2280, right?
That's right.
Okay, and the book is $34.95. That's a 334-page book.
Yes, and it's got 64 different illustrations and tables in it, so it's fully documented.
Okay. And is it Dr. J. Philip?
Yes,
Rustin?
it is.
Okay, I didn't have that here on my notes, but okay.
Oh.
Good morning.
Good morning, Oscar. How are you?
All good, and we're talking with Jean from the Irish Tourist Board, and I just want to have you talk for about 15, 20 minutes, and I won't say anything, just to hear your accent. It's great.
Oh my God, I might dry up.
Now you have everything that I would want to know about St. Patrick's Day, right?
Oh, probably, and then some, as we say. I guess, would you like to start from the top, and I'll tell you exactly who Patrick was and how he became St. Patrick.
Okay, I've got some of that Irish blood in me, so go ahead. I can't do the accent, but hey, go for it.
Where is your ancestry from?
Oh, a little bit of everything. I'm definitely a mixed breed. I have Scottish, Irish, Norwegian, French. Oh, everything. A little everything.
Let me get you to Ireland to figure this one out, you know.
I've got the Irish temper anyway.
Oh, right, yeah. So
or is it the Scottish temper? I'm not sure.
Like all.
Okay, go ahead. You tell me how it started.
St. Patrick actually was he was captured as a slave in Britain.
Okay.
And actually he escaped. He was brought to Ireland and escaped to France, and actually came back to Ireland as Patrick the missionary.
All right.
And that's when he came back, he actually used the shamrock. This is where the significance of the shamrock comes in. He used the shamrock to explain the Holy Trinity, the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit.
Oh, okay.
So that's the 3-leaf shamrock, and in the 4-leaf shamrock, if you find one of them, it means you're going to have some great luck somewhere. And they're not very easy to find.
Now, why is that?
It's just that they just don't grow everywhere, and then you have to just find them and go into the fields and find a 4-leaf shamrock.
So you're basically lucky anyway if you found one.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's a very nice gift actually to give somebody, and actually real shamrock is a very nice gift, or a 4-leaf shamrock. It's a very nice just a token, you know, for around St. Patrick's Day. But actually, incidentally, I mean, St. Patrick's Cathedral in Dublin is actually not Catholic, it's Protestant.
Okay.
I think quite a lot of people are quite amazed to see that. But, of course, St. Patrick's Cathedral here in New York is a very big cathedral, and that's Catholic. Everybody, I shouldn't say everybody, a lot of people in Ireland are called Paddy. If you're named Patrick, chances are you will always be called Paddy.
Uh-huh.
You won't be called Patrick for most of your life. The shamrock, in fact, is not the national emblem of Ireland. It is, in fact, the harp. And any visitors to Ireland will see on any of the government buildings, they'll see the harp. They will not see the shamrock. The shamrock now is associated with the tourism. We use it, we're the government tourist office, and we use it. And you see these the shamrock signs outside all of the bed and breakfast accommodations and all of the hotels in Ireland, which means that they have been inspected by the Irish Tourist Board.
Oh, okay.
But everybody relates to that. Some of the other things that, you know, why green, we have 40 shades of green in Ireland, literally, in all of the fields, and it's a magnificent view from the air from Shannon to Dublin. The Blarney Stone is real. It's north of Cork, and if one kisses the Blarney Stone, one gets the gift of eloquence.
Eloquence,
not
okay.
elegance, eloquence. So you get a little bit confused. You go up 50 or 60 rickety steps, up, but it's fun. But it's all protected and everything.
But can you actually still kiss the Blarney Stone, though, or?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You lie down, and there's a 70-year-old man there, ready to grab you if you fall.
Okay. All right.
Oh, he's been there for years. He's very used to it. And that's actually north of Cork City. And the Cliffs of Moher, the Ring of Kerry are things that Americans would identify with. The harp, of course, that's always like a good trivia question, in that respect. The parade in Ireland, or parades I should say, are celebrated on a much quieter scale than they are across America.
Okay.
It started here with the Irish men in the American armies that used to celebrate, in their own little way, and then it escalated from there, and then they had the influence in the town, and then the parade started, and they got bigger and bigger over the years.
Okay.
I don't know whether you have a parade there.
Yep. So sometimes, there's different things. People do different things for St. Patrick's Day around here.
Yeah.
Now, where did let me ask you this quick. Where did the green beer come from? Was that America?
That's American.
That's American.
And actually, corned beef and cabbage is American. We have bacon and cabbage.
Bacon and cabbage?
Yeah.
I would love that too. I'm a corned beef or bacon and cabbage.
Yeah, boiled bacon and cabbage. We do. That was a traditional meal, and Irish stew, and you can of course still get that. I mean, it is a myth that we eat that every other day, but potatoes are a mainstay of probably every dinner. Potatoes in some form, like every day in Ireland, because we do. All Irish people just like potatoes.
Now, do you have a good recipe for Irish stew?
For Irish stew, probably lamb stew. And really it's basically the same, but I think we put less of we put an oxo cube, which is probably lighter than some of the stuff that's here, and just a thickening starch that we have, which is probably similar to the food starch.
Okay.
But it's really the amount of herbs that you put in: parsley, sage, rosemary, and thyme.
Sounds like a song.
As the song goes, yeah. But green beer, we do not drink, and you never stir an Irish coffee.
Really?
You never ever stir an Irish coffee. It is sacrilegious to stir an Irish coffee.
Sacrilegious? So I broke some.
Cannot do that.
So I broke some rules.
It breaks my heart when I used to see people here doing that, and I wanted to go over to them. People I didn't know saying, don't you know you're not supposed to do that?
Well, doesn't it like kind of set at the bottom and then you get all the punch at the end then, or?
No,
is that supposed to be that way?
It's stirred before the cream is put on top.
Oh, I see.
You have to have whipped cream, and you leave the spoon in the glass so the cream doesn't descend to the bottom.
Oh, okay. I gotcha.
All right. And you never put, in Ireland, you would never get ice in whiskey. They're the things that are kind of slightly different, But people bring their own variations,
right?
And the Irish-American connection here. There was 4 Irish people were involved in the signing of the Declaration of Independence. The White House was designed by an Irishman, James Hoban, which probably a lot of people would know. The Labour Day parade, I guess because so many thousands and thousands of men came from Ireland to the United States and got into the construction industry and all of that, and still are now. The Labour Day was actually founded by Peter McGuide, who was the founder of the Brotherhood of Carpenters and Joiners.
Okay.
So, and there's a whole bunch of American presidents, including the President Clinton, that has Irish ancestry.
Okay, there was another question I wanted to ask you, and now I just slipped my mind. Doggone it. I can't remember what it was now. Anyway, go ahead. I'm sorry.
No, but there's so many connections between Ireland and America. It's quite astounding, really, when you consider the size of the country. It was only 150 miles by 300 miles. So anybody that's Irish here in America, on St. Patrick's Day is very proud to be Irish. Like, oh, I'm real Irish. I'm actually from there.
Yeah.
Listen to me talk.
Yeah, really.
And everybody is Irish. And
so you're 100%, aren't you?
I'm 100%. Yeah.
You're purebred.
Yeah. All of my relations came over on airplanes. But we have actually a really fabulous Cove Immigration Centre that opened up a couple of years ago. So any Americans travelling to Ireland with Irish ancestry, they really should go to the Immigration Centre. And it can be very sad as well, because you see a lot of, second, third, fourth generation visitors to Ireland are going around, and this is actually how their ancestors actually travelled from Ireland to the United States. The whole history of it, the history of the Titanic. It was the only stop in Ireland. The history of the Lusitania that was torpedoed off the coast of Cork.
Now, what about a lot of people, Americans, like I should say, consider bagpipers, the Scottish bagpipers, as being something to celebrate for St. Patrick's Day. I never could quite understand that. That has nothing to do with St. Patrick's Day, does it? Bagpipers?
Well,
I mean, now you play
we do have bagpipers in Ireland.
Yeah, right.
It's the Celtic tradition.
Right.
more so than anything else, like Scotland, Wales, and Ireland. But they would have, I would think, have originated in Scotland, but we do have bagpipers in Ireland.
Okay, so does that kind of go hand in hand then? Would that be a Scottish bagpiper and?
Well, there would be bagpipers parading in the St. Patrick's Day parade in Dublin.
Oh, okay.
And this year, in fact.
But they'd be Irish, though.
What?
They'd be Irish, not
they
Scottish.
Would be Irish, yeah.
Yeah.
They would be Irish. We do have a couple of thousand of kids that come over to Ireland to march in the parade.
Uh-huh.
So that's actually quite how different it is when you compare it to some of the major cities here. Is that actually parents actually will send their children to Ireland on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
And it's a cultural experience, cultural education experience for them. And the parade. Actually today is like a much bigger and better, and they have tons more floats, and they got hot air balloons and everything, so it's getting bigger and better every year.
Now what about leprechauns? You have any beliefs in leprechauns over there? Or what?
I haven't seen one now. I have to
You never found that pot of gold, huh?
I'm still striving. I saw the most magnificent rainbow in Ireland that I have seen in years and years, and we just kept going. I kept saying, get to the end of it, get to the end of it. For the pot of gold and the leprechaun, and it was just absolutely magnificent. But it's there in the storytelling. It's great for the kids.
Where did that come from, the leprechaun? Where did that come from? And how did that involve?
I think from a storyteller.
Just a storyteller?
Yeah.
Okay. A good one.
There's a very good one.
Yeah.
There's lots of different stories, things like that. So it really depends on who you talk to.
Yeah, the wishes and the whole thing. I was always wanted to find a leprechaun.
Yeah, well,
it never hung out in Muskegon. I don't know why.
If you find one, will you let me know?
Sure. Hey, if you can't find them in Ireland, I don't think I'll be finding them over here in Muskegon. So I don't know. Is there? I know there's so much tradition to St. Patrick's Day. By the way, my aunt was born on St. Patrick's Day, so guess what they named her?
Patricia.
There you go.
Oh God.
You got it.
What a surprise.
Yeah, really.
Well, that's very nice actually to have a birthday on St. Patrick's Day.
Yeah. She kind of overcompensates and celebrates very well with it. Yeah.
No, overcompensates.
Okay, whatever.
Oh, that's a good day. I would actually, I probably prefer to have it on another day, only because I can celebrate on my birthday, because we always celebrate on St. Patrick's Day anyway. Right.
That's we had a young lady here that, of course, it was leap year, 29th of February, and her birthday fell in leap year, so she was actually only 8 years old. So we celebrated. I guess she gets to celebrate her birthday twice, though, on the days that leap year don't fall. It's every 4 years it falls, of course. But
that's really weird.
Yeah, I thought so. And she is too, but anyway. What?
Can I give you our 800 number for anybody
Sure.
who'd like a copy of our magazine?
Oh, great.
We have a gorgeous colour magazine that has travel stories in there, and a traveller's guide and itineraries, and actually there's a map in there as well.
Okay.
And our number is 800-223-6470. And
Okay.
just ask for the Ireland magazine. But the telephones might be very busy for the next week.
Right.
Because we have like a lot of interviews going on across the country, so if they don't want to hang on, they could just call from March 18 or whatever, and we'd be very happy to send it out.
Okay. Well, anything else that you want to fill us in as far as the St. Patrick's Day tradition, Jean?
No, I would love if we could get more and more Americans to Ireland for St. Patrick's Week.
Okay.
We have a Roaring Twenties festival that's on just before, and then St. Patrick's Day is just such a great day in Ireland. So I would encourage visitors to consider coming to Ireland. We get a temperate climate in Ireland, so it never gets too hot and it never gets too cold.
Yeah.
So we don't freeze, like we do here in the East Coast, like in the winter time.
I got to ask you this because it was one of my favorite movies. Now this Rob Roy. That was on.
Yeah, Kevin Costner.
No, Rob Roy. That was Jessica Lange and.
Liam Neeson.
Yeah. Now was that kind of the way it was in those times, or as far as your history books go, was that the way it was, or?
Yeah, I'd say that would be a good indication of it. I mean, most of that, if I remember, Rob Roy was filmed in Scotland.
Yeah.
Right, but parts of it were filmed in Ireland.
Mm-hmm.
and it would have been. I mean, from what I remember,
Yeah.
I wasn't.
It was beautiful, though. It was beautiful scenery. Well, so that was partly in Scotland and partly in Ireland.
The scenery is absolutely magnificent.
Yeah.
I mean, the two things that Americans come back with from Ireland, the American visitors, will be that the scenery is magnificent and that the people are just very nice and just very helpful.
Yeah.
Thank you, Bill. And it's 8:34 right now, and we've got Barbara Hill with us, and you might need to get a little closer to the microphone or pull the microphone closer to you, one of the two. There you go. Good morning.
Good morning.
And Barbara, she has the largest display of lights I have ever seen in my life, and Bill will vouch for this because Bill has seen it quite a few times. Yeah. Now, how many lights do you have? Any exact amount of how many lights you may have, or
We have 40,000 plus lights.
40,000 plus?
Mm-hmm.
You actually counted these lights?
My husband has.
Really?
In the middle of a snowstorm.
Yeah.
Right.
Now, I know when you these lights, I took my sister. She came down after Christmas, and I told her about this place that had all these lights, and I had to show her to her. And it was only like 2 or 3 days after Christmas. And I went over there, and there was nothing there. And she said, "Yeah, right. There was a really phenomenal amount of lights." Right. You guys actually take those down right after Christmas, and
Our last night that we light up is December 25th, and on the 26th, we
I want to shove that in your face, but I couldn't hear you, so I just.
on December 26th, we start taking all the plastic in, put it in the garage and that, and start taking the lights and
Okay.
everything down.
So that you put them on. So it takes you. I talked to your husband Saturday, and he said that it takes 3 weeks after you stick them in the garage to get them all put away.
Yes, we wipe everything down, and then we also wrap the lights on these extension cord wrappers, and we check all the lights all out before we put everything away, wipe everything off, and then we put the stuff in their special places.
I know you have 40,000 lights. Well, how many displays do you have?
Oh, lots.
Never counted those, huh?
No, never have. I mean, they're just all over the yard. I mean, if people that go by and walk down the driveway and that, they can see. There's a lot of different ones.
See, that's another thing too. That you almost have to get out of your car now. You have to get out of your car now to enjoy all the lights because you have them going all the way to your backyard.
Right, and we allow the people to walk down, and because, like I say, once you drive by, you can't really see everything, unless you do get out and walk.
I was there for 15 minutes Saturday,
Mhm.
and I must have saw 40 cars pulling in and out of there.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them get out. Some of them don't get out. Some,
Sure.
I guess are kind of scared to. They're not sure if they're supposed to get out there and walk up there or whatever. But there must have been at least 40 cars in and out of there. Do you have any problems with the neighbors or anything for that?
Well, most of the neighbors we know pretty well. My husband's been there since 1952.
Mhm.
He has a mother that lives across the street. We have
That
a nephew.
helps.
Yes, we have a nephew that lives next door, and the other neighbors and that we know pretty well. And we've all talked to them before we've really, light up, and they've been very cooperative. The only thing that we ask is that when the people come down come down the road, that they pull over to the side.
Right.
We also have the ditch plowed, and it's salted and sanded, and
That didn't sound right to me. You have the ditch plowed?
Yeah. Well, between the road and
Right.
the fence and that, there's kind of like a ditch area,
Mhm.
and we've got that all plowed out and sanded and salted, and so that people can take and drive down and see the display.
And your driveway's nice and clear too, so you can
Yes,
walk
it
without
is.
slipping there.
Yes.
Now that must take a lot of time in itself, especially with the weather we've been having.
Oh, Friday when we had that ice storm Thursday, my husband and I Friday was out there chopping ice for about 3.5 hours,
Oh, boy.
putting salt and fertilizer, everything we could think of, salt and sand, and try to get the ice all melted and that, and we finally got it straightened around.
That must have been a job because the end of my driveway still isn't done. It's
It
all,
was.
It froze
Yes.
up and it's all rutted and everything else.
Besides, you guys do both sides of the road too. You do on each side, so people can park coming either way.
Mm-hmm. We put blue lights on the fence this year. It was something new, and my husband and I decided, well, we'll try it and see what it looks like.
Mhm.
And one night last week, he had to take and go away at night, and he come home and he said, I don't like them blue lights. He says, they just not bright enough, he says, when you're coming down the road.
Right.
And he says to me, he says, well, why don't you go take the car out, go down the road and see what you think? So I gets in the car and I goes down the road and I come back and I said, yeah, not them blue lights. I said, they just don't look right. So the next day and that, we got the multicolor lights out and we strung the whole fence.
Okay.
And so now we've got blue lights and multicolor lights on the fence to make it brighter.
Yeah, they were trying to trick us, really.
Right, yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
In the back, I mean, on the top of your roof, you have, of course, Santa Claus and all the reindeers,
Right.
plus Rudolph.
Plus Rudolph.
You've got the manger nativity set. That's my favorite.
Yes,
right there.
that's our largest
Yeah.
display.
That's one of my favorites, especially when you're going by and you just drive by.
Mm-hmm.
In the back, you've got even the swing set decorated.
Mm-hmm. We've got motion lights on the swing set. Plus, we've got teddy bears in each of the frames, and it looks like they're trying to swing.
Okay, and the one display, like I said earlier, my wife saw that was really unique, and you guys even made the footprints to it. Were the pair of Santa's shoes that are just like
boots,
Santa
yes.
boots that are sitting out there. Yeah.
Those were new. We bought the boots last year, and we didn't really know what we were going to take and do with them because all they are is just a boot that you fill candy and stuff with.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
And we come up with the idea to take and cover the top of the boot and put lights in it and see what happens. And
Oh,
boy,
okay.
they really turned out great with the red,
Well, see,
the
there you go. You
lights.
should make your own design for lights and
Yeah, we do some
start
of the
selling
stuff,
those. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, where do you get all these lights, and how do you get all these lights?
Well, we go to different stores. We're one of the ones that go out at 6 o'clock in the morning the day after Christmas and go to the different stores and pick up the lights. And we pick up a lot of our plastic display stuff from Menards. And
Okay.
we've gone to Target and Meyer Thrifty Acres.
You ever do the Frankenmuth stuff? or-
Yes.
Okay.
Yes,
Yeah, I thought so.
that's our favorite place.
Yeah.
We go there at least once a year to see if they've got any new ideas or anything like that. And,
Okay.
Yep.
Now, your husband was telling me when I was talking to him Saturday that sometimes you have to worry because some of your stuff actually gets stolen.
Yes, that's a sore subject. It happens,
Yeah.
and it's very upsetting.
Because you got to be paid a good deal of money for all this stuff, and then
Yeah.
somebody steals the display to put it in front of their house so they can get in the Christmas
Yeah.
spirit. That doesn't make
Oh,
any
yeah,
sense
yeah.
to me.
That-
But
that's cruel.
We learned our lesson on that very quickly. That we keep all the lights in the displays is usually within a
Towards-
10 foot from the front of the house. We don't get out
They
toward the
can't.
ditch because they.
you guys can't.
Well,
You
no,
can't.
you've got them all, but you probably don't put anything right
Right
out on
out
the road.
on the road. No,
That's
everything's all back behind the fence.
yeah, that's unfortunately you have to do that. Just like leaf bags and garbage cans,
Right.
the kids like to come down and knock them all over the place.
So you're going to add another 10,000 lights next year? You're
Right.
going to do that?
Yep.
Okay. Your husband kind of held his head when he said that you were going to add another 10,000 lights. Yeah, she's going to add another 10,000 next year.
Yeah, we are. I guess he wants to take and put motion lights down the fence to brighten it up just a little bit more.
Okay. Yeah, like you have some certain wagon wheels and stuff that have the circular lights that go on those. Also, now you want to mention when Santa's going to be there. I missed it, but there's going to be some other dates too.
Right. We do have Santa and Mrs. Claus on Friday and Saturday night. They should be there by 6:30, 7 o'clock, and they usually are there till about around 8:30.
Okay. So now people only have one more week to see this, so they better go.
Right. December 25th is the last day that we light up.
So Tuesday they'll be gone, right?
Mm-hmm.
That amazes me.
Cultural, you see. I think it's also partly genetic. Because, you see, if you look at Africans, they're talkative not just in the United States or Canada, but also in Britain, also in the Caribbean, also in sub-Saharan Africa. It's not just something that is specific to American culture. It's something which is inherent within African people. Just like a quieter disposition is inherent within Asian population, and an intermediate kind of disposition to be found in Europeans.
Okay. Now, what about interracial? Now there's not that many.
Americans have an IQ of about 85. For African populations in the world, that's very high. African Americans actually have about the highest black IQ in the world, And one reason for this is because they are about 25% mixed with white genes. If you go to Africa, black Africa, where the population is less mixed, the IQ is much lower. So whether it's all the African American IQ is as high as it is just because of its white admixture, or whether it's also because of the good nutrition and the good schools and so on, compared to Africans in Africa, we can't say for sure.
Right.
But we do know that Africans in America are the most intelligent Africans anywhere in the world. And if you go to black Africa, the IQ scores are about 70. And there are many, many studies to show this. In fact, it's one of the most controversial aspects of the bell curve. Was the fact that they tried to argue in that book that this supported the genetic hypothesis for racial differences in intelligence. So, I mean, you're right, there are a lot of admixtures, but on the other hand,
pure white or black or Asian, people anymore. I mean, everybody is intermixed nowadays. I mean, there's not that many true black Americans, true white Americans. I mean, what is a white American anyway? I mean, you're talking Irish, you're talking Polish, you're talking, a mixture of a little bit of everything. How does that work as far as brain size? I mean, there's a lot of black Americans that have African American, they have Indian, they have French, they have a lot of different other cultures mixed in. How does that affect as far as brain size goes, or whatever?
What it does with Africans is Africans are more introverted in personality. Now, I'm not trying to suggest that one's better or worse than the other. They're just a bit different.
Right.
And if you don't recognize these differences, you can misperceive the situation. For example, I think a lot of Africans believe that African Americans believe that Koreans are standoffish and are prejudiced against blacks because they don't talk as much to black people as black people talk to black people, when in fact it's just a personality difference. So I think that there are these kinds of recognitions that we can make.
But isn't that kind of a cultural thing then?
Well, I don't think it is